Hey guys, and welcome to the video, and this another episode of Hacking Modding News and Info. This is a weekly segment that I do where I go over and cover and highlight some of the information regarding the hacking, modding, homebrews, jailbreak, and emulation scenes that I think viewers of this channel would either find helpful, informative, useful, or just entertaining. There is a strong focus here on consoles and handhelds, but we do cover stuff regarding PCs and phones and other platforms as well from time to time. And pretty much everything I cover is strictly oriented towards the end user. And with that, let's go ahead and take a look at what's gone down over the past week or so. And let's start off with the PS4 scene, where some interesting stuff is going on there. Developer Al Azif seems to have been kind of finished with porting Mira over to 7.00/7.02. Not completely done, but sort of done. He also stresses that this does not mean an exploit is coming soon. It just means that the super time consuming part of porting Mira over seems to have been kind of finished. Developer Zor also stresses that Al Azif currently does not have, as far as he knows, code execution on 7.02, at least not yet, but we are making progress. So just make sure you stay tuned, guys, because as soon as something comes out regarding 7.00 and 7.02, you know I'm going to let you know. Alright, so now let's get back to the regular groove of things. Up next, we have Super Mario 64 being able to be played natively on Android without the need of an emulator. Now, we've seen Super Mario 64 get ported to other platforms natively, such as PC, Switch, 3DS. Well, now recently it's appeared on Android, so you could play it as though it was just a regular Android game. But also recently we've seen it get ported over to PS2, PS3, and PS4. I'll put all the links down below. I love Super Mario 64 and it's great to see it on all these different platforms, but I now want to see a bunch of other games get ported from the N64 besides just Super Mario. Alright guys, now let's head on over to the Switch scene, where we're going to be spending some time because there's a lot to cover, including a few new things. So let's go ahead and begin with those. First among the new stuff is this AIO Switch Updater, and this is absolutely something that I'm going to be using because it's ultra handy. This is a homebrew that allows you to update various things on your modded Switch. You can update custom firmware, depending which custom firmware you use, like Atmosphere or Rainix or whatnot. I think even SXOS. You can update right from here. You can update SIG patches right from here. You can download official factory firmwares, which you can then use Daybreak or Choi de jour in order to update your system with. You can download cheats. You can change the color of your Joy-Cons and a couple of other things that you can do from here. Oh, here at the reboot menu, you can reboot into any one of these payloads that you want, and I'm assuming that you can just put in whatever payloads and however many you want. Now, there is some instruction here regarding the extras and a file that's located in the releases, this jcprofiles.json file. So when you come over to the releases, this installs like any other .nro file, which is in the zip, and then here's that JSON file. I don't think you absolutely need to have this. This is just, I think, pertaining to the colors of your Joy-Cons and whatnot, so make sure you read up on those instructions. And next we have Nightfall, another new homebrew for the Switch. This one has a nice little trick up its sleeve. When you use it and you are connected to the internet, it will connect to a private server. This server will then allow you to update your system with official factory firmware, just like you would if you made the connection to Nintendo servers, except you're not. You're making the connection to a private server that has these factory firmware updates in them, so you can safely update your Switch. It's a great idea and a great homebrew. You don't even have to use this server if you don't want to. If you know how, the files have been made available for you and they're open source. So you can literally set up your own server if you choose to do so. This is incredibly stupidly easy to use. Just grab the latest zip file, copy and paste the contents onto the root of your SD card. Make sure you're connected to the internet and then launch the app. It couldn't be simpler. All right, next up, we have another new homebrew for the Switch. This one is called Linkaho, and despite its funny, quirky name, it actually has a really good purpose. If you have a modded Switch, you are probably familiar when you go to launch some of your games, you get that annoying pop-up asking you if you want to link your Nintendo account to the game and whatnot. This also sometimes happens every time you finish a level or complete something in a game, and it can get annoying. Well, what this does is that it takes all of the user accounts that you have on your Switch and it links an NNID number to them, a Nintendo Network ID. Now, this is not an official number, but it does this and it does it offline, and then you don't get those pop-ups anymore. You can also unlink these numbers if you want, so you have that option. As of right now, you can't pick and choose which accounts on your Switch you can add these numbers to. You can either link all the accounts or unlink all. So it's either you do all of them or you unlink all of them, at least for now. But this seems like a really good solution to get rid of those stupid, annoying pop-ups. Over at the releases is the zip file. The .nrl file is in there. And of course, all you need to do is just put it into the Switch folder that's on your SD card and you're all set. And next we have something else that's new, well, sort of kind of new, and that is this NSA installer. It's done by Team Neptune, the same people who do Deep Sea for the Switch, that all-in-one package deal. Well, this NSA installer is actually a fork of AWU installer, but it's very minimalistic and simple. Some of the offensive stuff that people found in AWU installer have been removed. This can install NSP, NSZ, XCI, and XCZ files. It can do it over LAN, USB, even by URL or Google Drive. You can also install them straight from your SD card. Now, I live by AWU installer. I actually kind of forked it myself and made it into my own, but it works great. So I suspect the same thing here. This new version, even though it's version 1.0, will work with the latest firmware 10.2, as well as the latest Hecates and Atmospheres and latest Deep Sea and all of that stuff. All you need to do is grab the contents of the zip, copy and paste it straight to the root of your SD card, and that's it. Okay, so that's going to take care of all the new stuff for the Switch. The next few things are just the regular homebrews that have been out that have gotten updates, starting with Hecate and Nyx. Hecate is now on version 5.3.3. Nyx is 0.9.4. There's support here for firmware 10.2 and a few enhancements and fixes as well. Then we have an update to Deep Sea, that all-in-one package deal, which is the successor to the Cosmos AIO. This is the one that I use. It's also what I put on all of the Switches that I put together. It's what I swear by. Anyway, these last couple of versions, what they've done is just update the homebrews in them. This latest one has the latest Atmosphere 0.14.4. It also has that latest version of Hecate and Nyx that we just covered, as well as the latest versions of all these homebrews. And next for the Switch, we have an update to Retro Reloaded. This is something I've covered multiple times before, so I won't spend too much time on it here. It is a boot manager, so you boot into it when you start the Switch, and then from there you can do all kinds of stuff. You can launch any of the custom firmwares that you want. You can launch Hecate. You can get your prod info keys. You can activate homebrews right from here or deactivate them. It just has a ton of functionality, and I love the way that it looks. It's something I've been meaning to use but haven't quite gotten around to it yet. It can also update itself right from here. Now, there's a special process you need to follow before installing this. So whenever you go to the releases to get the latest release, in this case 1.38, make sure that you read the instructions thoroughly. They're here in Spanish and in English. All right, and the last couple of things we are going to talk about have to deal with Switch themes. First, an update to Switch Layout Editor. This is now version 1.0 beta 11, and just some crashes here, some bugs that caused those crashes have been fixed. This is what you install on your PC that allows you to easily create and or edit Switch themes. There's a lot that you can do here. You can mash up themes if you want, so you can take components and parts from other themes and put them together to create your own, or just make your own from scratch. The layout of the home menu can almost be set to like whatever you want. As you can see here, I'm planning on doing a multi-part tutorial series on this, maybe 2 or 3 parts. And then of course the releases is where you find the latest version. And then we have an update to Switch Installer and the Switch Injector. So the Switch Theme Injector and Installer is what you would actually use to install the themes into the Switch. You can also create and edit themes on your PC with the files provided. There's a good set of instructions here. And when you go over to the releases, you'll see the .nro file, which is the homebrew that again actually installs the themes. And then the release 4.5.27 zip file, that's what installs on your PC so that you can create and edit your themes similar to the program that we just covered. This latest version adds 10.2.0 firmware support, as well as a few fixes here and there. And next up, a little bit of somber news that I know some of you are going to find sad. Nintendo has discontinued the 3DS. Officially, the announcement was made on September 17th, which was a few days ago. This brings an end to the 3DS, 2DS family of systems, which started around 9.5 years ago when they launched. Combined, they sold around 75 million units, which made it successful and pretty impressive considering that over those 9.5 years, they had to fight really what ended up being a losing battle against smart devices, smartphones, and mobile gaming, which is what eventually, of course, has taken over. But there's a lot more here than just this being the end of the 3DS. This also marks the end of the Game Boy lineage, something that started back in 1989, and through the years, it evolved and morphed and ended up becoming the 3DS. And now 31 years later, after the release of the initial Game Boy, that has come to an end. But even more so, I believe that this marks the end in general of the dedicated handheld portable electronic gaming system. Now that's a mouthful, but we've had these portable handhelds since like the 1970s in some way, shape, or form. And now we won't after this. I'm not counting the Switch and the Switch Lite. I think that's something different, but I believe that the end of the 3DS marks the end also of over 40 years of having portable handheld electronic gaming devices accessible to us. And so I think it deserves a much better send-off, and I'll be doing a video within the next couple to few weeks that's a little bit better in production value that will properly give a send-off to the dedicated electronic portable handheld gaming system. Now, even though the 3DS has come to an end, of course, hacking and modding for it has not. Next, we have an update to Twilight Menu. I've already gone over Twilight Menu many times. It's sort of an emulator type deal that plays your ROMs from various Nintendo and Sega systems, and as well as even TurboGrafx 16. This latest update adds offline updating, so you can check out how that's done here. They've also added some nice features and improvements and usual bug fixes. You can snag the file that is right for you from here from the assets down below. And that is going to do it for this week's episode, guys. You know I appreciate you watching, and if you found anything here informative, useful, helpful, or maybe just entertaining, or you just want to throw some love or appreciation towards the channel, as always, you know the best way to do any of those things is just to hit that like button, maybe subscribe if you haven't already. Much love going out to everyone out there. Be careful, be safe, but have fun, and we will see you on the next one.